Oh my goodness! Happy BroadwayCon Sunday, everybody! This is like an extra Sunday fun day for all of us. I hope you are having an amazing time. I'm Julie James from SiriusXM's on Broadway channel. It has been so super awesome to meet so many of our listeners and so many more of you here at BroadwayCon. Thanks so much for being here. We are about to fasten our seatbelts for some true amazingness because I am bringing up here the cast and creative team of Dear Evan Hansen. I know you are all as psyched as I am. I have been counting down the minutes. So let's bring them up to the stage. I'm gonna get where I can see their beautiful faces. Let's please welcome Rachel Bay Jones. And our other beautiful mother in our show, Jennifer Laura Thompson. We also have Michael Feist. Crystalline Lloyd. Will Rowland. Please welcome Michael Park. Please continue your fabulous applause for Laura Dreyfus. And the man we are all completely obsessed with, please join me in hashtagging Ben Platt is a unicorn, Mr. Ben Platt! And then we are so lucky to have members of our creative team, the man at the helm, Michael Greif! We also have book writer extraordinaire, Stephen Levinson! And please welcome to the stage two people that I am so proud and happy for, and so honored that I could even begin to call them friends. The amazing, the magical, Golden Globe winners and Oscar nominees, Bench Passing and Justin Hall! Well, thank you so much for coming and have a great day. That was like so much amazingness, we might as well just call it right there. Oh, thank you so much for being here so early on a Sunday and on the day of your 8th show this week. So thank you so much for spending your time with us at BroadwayCon. All right, where in the world to begin? There are so many questions, but I think that if I just from being, from hearing from listeners of SiriusXM all over the country, and from just what's going on with people here in New York who have seen your beautiful show, I think one of the most frequently spoken questions that I've heard is, how in the world does Ben Platt do that kind of an emotional performance 8 times a week? So I'm just starting right in on you, Ben. Sorry.
Wow, that's a tough beginning, Julie.
Sorry.
No, I mean, that's an excellent question. I think that it's a combination of things. First of all, we have the most incredible cast on Broadway, in my opinion. And all 7 of the people to my right are incredibly dropped in every single night and very consistent, and I think we all believe very much in this piece and in this story, and we want to give ourselves to it. And so to be surrounded by people that are so dropped in and so sort of honestly giving of themselves makes it very easy to get to the same place every night. And then of course, in a more practical sense, because this is BroadwayCon, there's a few sort of physical things obviously to just maintain, as far as physical therapy and voice lessons and things to put into place so that the focus doesn't need to be on sort of technically making the sounds 8 times a week, and can be really on just telling the story and sort of emotionally arriving 8 times a week. But it's, you know, one day at a time, as it were. We have 2 shows today, so it'll be a fun one.
It's a two-doche today?
It's a two-doche.
Ooh-wee. Well then, extra thanks for being here.
Of course.
So what, yeah, I hear this matter. Do you feel spent at the end? Like, does that really take a lot out of you to deliver on that level of emotion?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that I don't want to give anything away about the show, but it certainly ends in a redemptive place, and so there's a lot of hope, hopefully, that the audience leaves with, and so I think we all really appreciate that we don't leave sort of all the way down in the dumps, and we kind of leave with this sort of positive message, and I think that's really helpful in being the people that are telling the story 8 times a week, that at least we can always sort of end on a higher note.
Yeah.
But of course there are days where it's a little tougher to shake off, or physically it's just a bit sort of pounded down, but like on a 2-show day, but the audience's reception and the warmth that we receive and how affecting the show seems to be to people always kind of lifts us right back up.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Pasek and Mr. Paul. You know, the journey of this show is one that I know is very close to your heart. It comes from even a certain amount of experience in your own life, Benj. People have probably heard about that, but just give people a little idea of your germ of the idea for the story and how that blossomed into your idea to turn it into a full-fledged musical.
Hey, BroadwayCon, what's up? Justin and I met in college, but when I was in high school, there was a student. Oh, go blue, yeah. Okay, go blue. Okay, I love it. When I was in high school, there was a student at my school who passed away, and I wasn't really close to this kid, but I remember once the school community found out that he had died, a lot of people who had never known him began to mourn in a really public way. And I remember that I wanted to be a part of a tragedy that I wasn't a part of, and wanted to be connected to this kid after his death in a way that I didn't really earn a place to do so. And when I got to college and Justin and I started to write songs together, and eventually songs became musicals, we thought about what ideas we would want to explore, and you can talk about.
Yeah, so this story was obviously really interesting, and I think at the same time, we grew up, 9/11 happened when we were in high school, and I think we also talked a lot about our generation, and maybe other generations too, having this need to, whenever something bad would happen, or there was a tragedy, now it's sort of as like a celebrity death or something big like that, there is sort of this natural sense that we all want to be part of it, whether now it's on social media. At that time, people were writing their college application essays about, you know, how 9/11 changed my life, and you know, whether that was completely true or not, there was this odd but sincere and deep need for people to try to connect over these moments and feel like they were part of a community. And so we thought during college we wanted to write a show that sort of touched on some of those themes, and I think we thought about it in a more sort of negative light, and as we started writing the show, we realized that wasn't going to be a musical, but we needed to explore a character who had that genuine need and was really feeling lost and isolated and lonely. And that all developed also as we started writing with the incredible Stephen Levinson, who wrote the book for the show. And we talked to Stephen about all these ideas, and we said, we want to write this and this and this and this. We had a bunch of crazy themes, basically. And then Stephen was like, that all sounds great. That's a lot. Let me process that. And also, let's think about the story and the character that all of this can sort of hinge on, and can all these ideas can wrap around. And that's when we started working with Stephen on the show. And Stephen did a brilliant job. He's going to talk about how brilliant that was.
Stephen did do a brilliant job. I would love to hear your thoughts on bringing, page to stage, as we say.
Yeah, well, when I think when we started talking about this idea, we knew that we wanted to write something about connection, and it seemed most interesting to explore that from the perspective of a character who was incapable of connecting. And so that was sort of our way in. story-wise, was to try to think of who would be the least likely person to be able to connect in a world that is so interconnected. And so I think that the germ of the idea really did begin with this character of Evan, and then you know, his journey kind of shaped the rest of the story for us.
I would love to open this up to the parents in our show. One of the things that I think is so super impactful about Dear Evan Hansen is that so many different people can relate to it where they are. If you're a kid, you can relate to it. You're a struggling teenager, you can relate to it. If you're someone my age, you can relate to it because you think back on your own experiences of maybe feeling like an outsider. And a lot of parents I know who are bringing their kids can relate to this story, or maybe they're even just on their own parental date night. So for any of our parents in the show, what's your experience of being on stage with this very emotional and impactful story?
Sorry, am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Hi, guys. Yeah, I think what Stephen was talking about when he was discussing connection, I think that's been the most incredible thing about this experience for me, both while I'm on stage, feeling the connection with the audience as the mother going through what the mother goes through, and the mother and son relationship, the parent-child relationship, feeling that so many of the audience members are with us completely at that moment, and then seeing after the show how many kids are bringing their parents, you know, and I say kids loosely, I mean, like, I'm a kid, I would bring my mom to see this, you know, but people are coming back with their parents. People want to call their mom after the show, you know, and moms are bringing their kids, and that's been a really beautiful thing.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, hi, I'm Jennifer Lloyd Thompson. My experience, just asking for it, just asking. What I love about this script and the score and the lyrics, it's a thrill for me as a parent to convey what my truth is, and what I pull out of the story is that mothers, and I'm not speaking not against fathers, but as a mother, we never ever give up, and we're always wholeheartedly supporting our children. And most parents focus on their failures, which is the worst idea of what parenting can be. You should celebrate your triumphs, but we spend a lot of our time focusing on our failures. And this show has actually given me hope to forgive myself as a parent, and allows other parents who relate to that sort of situation that they can forgive themselves. And it opens up a conversation with the children that I think is so important. It's made me a better parent, and I'm really lucky to be able to tell that story every night with this incredible group.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything that Jen just said. And Rachel, too. I say this countless times, but to a certain extent, no. I have 36 minutes to talk about this, so I'm going to take all the time. I say this countless times I've been asked that Larry Murphy's made me a better parent. The failures and the achievements that he experiences has informed me as a parent, and opened many avenues to communicate with my kids. And Jen's right, never stop trying to communicate with your kids, because adolescence sucks. It really does. It's awful, and you're getting so much information, bad information from your peer group. Talk to your parents. Reach out to your parents. Reach out to your uncles, your aunts, anybody, grandparents. Find someone who's been there before to help you, and this show has kind of opened my eyes to never stop with my children, and thank you for that.
Beautifully said. Laura, you have an equally complex role in the show to play, because you're sort of sandwiched between all of these people that are feeling all of these things, You got this one on one side, you got your brother on the other side, you got your parents in addition, and your school stuff and everything that's going on. That must be a lot as an actor to dig into, along with the beautiful music that you get to sing. Would you, give us some insight into how you're dealing with your relationships in the show?
Yeah, I think what's really awesome is that my character is a victim of circumstance, but she doesn't ever allow herself to be a victim, and she kind of fights against it throughout the entire show. And she's, like everyone in the show, so incredibly imperfect, which makes it very exciting and fun and full of depth. And she's able to be a strong woman and a weak woman at the same time, which is really kind of special. I love it. I think that I've had so many people come up to me who have said things that they have had a complicated relationship with their brother or sister, and it was never resolved, and they feel like through watching this journey they've been able to, kind of what Jen said, forgive themselves and kind of see something positive come out of it, and know that not everything is perfect. Life isn't perfect, and I think the best thing about theater is that it teaches empathy, and I think that we kind of have that gift every night. So for me, it's very rewarding to feel like I'm telling this story of this girl who has just, really horrible things happen to her, but she doesn't allow it to define her and her happiness. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful, because you do have a sense of uplift from her at the end of the show. You never lose your smile, and you still have a grace about you, even though you've been through all of these things in the show, that even by the end it seems to, I want to applaud all of you, because the show has an audaciousness, I think, in a way that it doesn't need to have a happy ending, and yet you leave with an uplift, right? Like, that is so impactful, I feel. So, let's hear from our other cast members, Will, Crystalline, Mike. I would love to hear your thoughts as well, because what we seem to be kind of theming in on here is the complexity of these people. And I feel like if any of you are like me, you feel like you know these people because we've known people like them in our lives, and you're bringing such a realness to them where we can really relate to people in our own lives that we've known that have been like the bestie, or the guy who gave us a rough time, or the dare we say overachieving friend. So what are your thoughts on bringing your roles to life with all of this wonderful depth?
I love these kinds of questions. No, I really do. So one of my favorite things about the way that the show is constructed is that you have these 8 people on the stage, and each of these characters shares very similar flaws. I think that all of them are trying to communicate and trying to reach out to people in their lives, and they're all sort of really bad at it. And it manifests in different ways, and I think there's some, especially in the way that it's directed and choreographed by Danny, there's a lot of visual parallels drawn between Connor and Evan as boys who are dealing with similar issues, but sort of acting out in very different ways. And one is Connor's sort of pushing and lashing out, and Evan is sort of retreating and hiding. And I think that the parents are also struggling to communicate, and I think that Jared and Alana are also just like seeking connection and seeking a way to reach out to someone else and failing miserably at it. And that is what I think sets us up to have 8 believable people in this incredible situation.
Great, well said. Mike, do you enjoy playing a bad guy?
Well,
and I mean that,
yeah.
I know where you're going to go with that.
It is a thing, because, there is this, you look at Connor immediately on stage, and he's all black, and he's got long hair, and you put him in a box, and that's what we do. And, it's unfortunate, you know, at times. And I think that's literally like that's the world in which he lives in, is that people put him in a box, and so therefore he puts other people in a box, and that's his way of surviving. And that's why he keeps everyone at bay. And the minute he allows anyone to see who he is, then he loses. And that's why there's that scene with Evan where there was an attempt on both ends to reach out and communicate with one another, and they just can't because of who they are. They just simply cannot. And so there is that, you know, misconception of Connor, and I don't mind it because then I get to do things like this and educate people, you know?
But I wouldn't say he's a bad guy.
No,
at all.
absolutely not.
I'd say he's lost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And I sort of baited you for that as well because
Darn you.
well, because I think that, you know, he, like the other characters in the show, is not actually bad. I think he's just lost, as you said, and terribly misunderstood. And one of the things that I've learned from some wonderful actors is that, you know, if we think about it in life, not everyone is all bad or all good. You know, they are a complete, complex combination of all of those things, and it's just what they're grappling with to come across. And I think that, again, so many people can relate to that character because maybe they know that character, but maybe they are that character. So, yeah, it's a job well done, and I know it's not an easy one.
No, but I think that's the great thing about the writing is that, you know, all of these characters are that way, and I think in each of these people's flaws, we all have those same flaws, and that's beautiful. That's
and
human.
I want to say too that especially with times being the way that they are, I've been finding a lot inside of this play and inside of this experience in the way that all of these characters are so flawed and so easily misunderstood. It's been an interesting analysis, I think, for us to reach that out into the world right now as we're trying to understand each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. I need to get to Michael Greif, the amazing Michael Greif, who brought this vision to the stage. I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings on interpreting the story that Stephen and Benj and Justin delivered to you, and these incredible actors, and your process in what it meant to stage this piece with such high emotion going on.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Well, first I want to say what a great pleasure it is to actually meet great material. You know, about 5 years ago, I actually met Benj and Justin and Stephen for the first time. Our wonderful producer, Stacy Mindich, invited me to become a potential part of this process. And they shared beginnings of what would be the first act of Dear Evan Hansen with me. And already it was so clear and so easy to see physically what the world could be, what the relationship would be between the present characters in the play and the virtual community that's also a very big part of the play. And it was incredibly easy to see what each, you know, fantastic actor could bring to these beautifully complicated written roles. Soon after our meeting, we got to spend a couple of weeks together in Los Angeles, which was fantastic. Really, really, really hammering through. I've never been through with a group of writers such an extraordinary, extensive period of actually talking about what each scene could be, and what each song could be for each scene, what each song in each scene might be about. So it was a really rigorous and extensive process that I got to go through with these guys, so that by the time we were actually ready to share the piece, I think we all had a really good idea of who might be best to inhabit these roles. And for our very first reading of this play, Ben suggested that Ben Platt be a part of this. Mike Park was a part of this, Jennifer Laura Thompson and Rachel Bay Jones were a part of it. This was about 4 years ago, and they were all smart enough to figure out that this is great material that I really need to remain a part of. So, you know, I know they've turned down a whole lot of work to continue being with this, And because they were with us, it gave these fantastic writers the opportunity to really continue developing with these guys in mind, with these, as these characters came into focus. It's always a huge pleasure and joy for me once I have a sense of what the text and the story is, to be able to share that with designers. Once again, Stacy helped me and the writers invite an extraordinary design team. Peter Negrini with projections, Dave Corns with sets, Emily Rebholz with costumes, Jackie Whiteman with lights, Nevin Steinberg with sound. We got the incredible Alex Lacamoire and Danny Mefford to be a part of our lives. And everyone who joined up recognized that we had the unbelievable good fortune of telling a really great, a really important, but a really absorbing and complicated story. And every step of the way, we had a fantastic developmental process in which we first did a workshop in New York City. And I think Will is referring to the first time we actually staged the play, and we actually all got the wonderful notions of what it felt like for both the Evan and the Connor character to sort of be shadows of one another. It's, that when we first got on our feet, we got to see the power of that. We did a workshop, we did a production in DC, we did a production at Second Stage in New York, and then here we are at the Music Box. And each time I want you to know that these writers, that Justin and Benj and Stephen, each time they learn such an incredible amount from what each production, what each audience had given us, and just refined. So we all had the extraordinary pleasure of coming back to the material with a real knowledge of what the story was, who the characters were, but always with these spectacular, subtle, small refinements that ultimately made a huge difference to how we could tell the story. So it was a great process, and I think we all owe so much to the constant, rigorous work of this writing team.
Amen. It's amazing as we sit here to think about the gestation period, which you've mentioned has been several years, and yet it feels so of the moment, doesn't it? The show is so right now. Were there things that, in a 4 or 5 year period that you tweaked or adjusted? Certainly the social media aspect of the staging is where we are right now, and but did that change a lot, or maybe just a little in that period of time? Our world has changed a lot in that period of time.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of refinements I mean. I mean, just, a spectacular understanding of what was completely current and what already had, began to recede. Mm-hmm. There was a real understanding of that, so it always felt we were working on something current. And the other thing is, they were also really brilliant to always find a poetic, a transformative, a literary, a dramatic, and not a completely hyper-realistic approach to what the social media was doing. It was always about the interaction between these characters and that world. And that's timeless.
We never wanted to be beholden. I know we were always concerned that we never wanted to be beholden to the transformations of technology that happened so quickly. We wanted to tell a story that involved social media, absolutely, but we never wanted to be too specific in terms of, apps, and that kind of thing. Widgets, etc. Because ultimately, what you realize when you're as old as we are and have been with these apps is like they kind of are all the same. Like there is a sameness to them that is sort of disguised by the flashy marketing, but that ultimately it's about these different means of trying to communicate. I think, like everybody's saying, they're all essentially the same kind of desperate cry for, attention.
Raise your hand if you were totally geeking out that you were going to get to work with Michael Greif from like the Rent days and Next to Normal.
What about you, Mike? Phew. I couldn't see.
Benj and Justin, I had the great privilege of welcoming you back to Broadway Names with Julie James on SiriusXM, and one of the stories that really, I can't believe we've had several visits, and it's always been amazing. One of the stories that I remember really stood out to me was we were all gushing over Ben Platt. Let's just be honest. And because I have the thrill of playing A Christmas Story and Dogfight on the radio, we were talking about Dogfight, and you shared that was actually your first exposure to Mr. Ben Platt. So would you be willing to reshare a little bit about that experience and how that may have led to where we are right this very minute?
Yeah, and then I'll let Ben say it from his perspective too.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, we were holding auditions for Dogfight in 2012, I think. And we had a bunch of actors come in, and this fantastic young 17-year-old actor came in to audition for the role of Bernstein. And most of the actors that we had cast were older, but they were playing younger. So like this fantastic actor who came in who actually was 17, but everybody that we had sort of cast was older playing younger. And he came in and he delivered this amazing interpretation of the material and sang so beautifully. I think it was How Glory Goes. Yeah,
That is correct.
yes.
That's a bold
And I remember being really blown away by this guy. And you know, I think you probably, if there are actors here, which I imagine there are many, you probably hear often that you know, you come in for an audition and you gotta give it that wonderful reading and really deliver the song. And if they don't choose you, you know, like maybe the creative team will remember, and you probably think that that's complete BS, right? Like many people are like, that's not real. But when Ben came in, we were so blown away by his talent, and he was someone that we were like, we have to figure out a way to work with this guy in the future. And we sort of stored it in our memory banks. I remember reaching out to him on Facebook or something at the time, and being like, you know, I don't know if this will work out right now, but you're someone that we really, really love and that we want to find a way to work with in the future. And so when Evan Hansen came around, he was the person immediately in our minds who we wanted to begin to work with on this material.
Dun dun dun!
Don't feel like affirm or deny. That is precisely how things went down.
Confirmed.
That's just about it. I've loved Pascal and Paul for a very long time. I sang their song "Like Breathing" from Edges for my senior solo night with my 3 best friends in high school, and I used to watch all the Edges videos every day, all day. And when I went in for Dogfight, I was incredibly nervous, and I wanted very much to make an impression on them. And so to receive that message on social media afterwards from Ben saying sort of how much they appreciated my audition and things like that was a beautiful thing to receive. But you think as an actor, like, okay, sure, like that's very kind, but nothing will ever come of it. And so to actually hear like a year or so down the line that there was a reading I could come and do was, one of the most exciting moments of my life. And I had actually also been in for Michael for the Next to Normal tour when I was 16 or 17 as well. So it was it was a real lesson in sort of misconnections and sort of there's no bad time to make an impression, and no matter what the situation is, whether things are going to work out or not, if you can get in the room because you never know what's going to come of it.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes, applause.
I thought Ben was really good too during my audition. I just want everyone to know that. But he was way too young.
No, this is my favorite part of the story, because for so many of you aspiring actors and artists, just because you didn't get that particular job doesn't mean anything about your future. And so in a world where you really have to deal, I'm sure all of these actors could agree, deal with a lot of rejection and a lot of no's and a lot of missed opportunities, but it doesn't mean to not keep going, because the show of a lifetime might be right around the corner. Ben, I know a lot of people also are obsessed, like I am, with your characterization, how nuanced it is, how deep it is, and how clear it is. Yeah, give it up. It seems to me that you have mined every single moment for its maximum layered potential, and you never stop moving. You've got the mannerisms, what you bring to the characterization from, futzing with your shoestrings, or or some of the mannerisms and the gesturing, and even the inflection of your voice on some of your lines. Can you speak to developing your character of Evan to that degree? Because I think so many of us remark upon how nuanced it is.
Well, that's very kind. The first thing I'll say is that being able to develop it with all these people for almost 3 years was a huge part of that. I've never had the opportunity to work on something so in depth and in detail and through so many different stages, and so there was an incredible amount of opportunities to sort of grow and get more and more specific over time, and to sort of find him one step at a time. A lot of the specific characterization came from Steven's writing, and he just so vividly creates this character in all the scenes in the book, and just sort of was an incredible jumping off point, because it's just sort of creates such a specific person in my mind. And I think as far as sort of the specificity of the characterization itself, I never wanted to isolate anyone from being able to connect to Evan or not be able to see some of themselves in him. And so, I'll get questions like, is it somebody on the spectrum? Is it a specific kid that you knew that you're sort of using in your mind? And my answer is that I've sort of taken pieces from all over, and from, some people that I remember in high school that were particularly difficult, had a particular difficulty connecting, or were particularly lonely, or but I never wanted to be too specific that you couldn't find something in him that you could relate to, or that you could see yourself in. So I guess that's where it all came from.
It's truly incredible. It's really, and I applaud that element of the show too, that it's never really named, but we absolutely get what's going on, but it doesn't necessarily have to have a label or a name. So that's a really wonderful aspect, because I think it does open it up to a lot of people being able to relate to it. Can we have just a brief departure from Dear Evan to hear what your La La Land experiences have been? Benton Justin, the Golden Globe Award-winning Pasek and Paul, now Oscar nominated, and we, of course, all of us can relate to feeling like Broadway and theater is a real community, and now you're expanding your community into Hollywood, quite literally and figuratively. And as you go out to LA and participate in these award shows, are people out there talking to you clearly about Dear Evan Hansen?
Honestly, that's the most exciting thing, is that when we got to go to these parties that we don't belong at, and honest to God,
you don't know how to dress for it.
No, it's really embarrassing. And the coolest part, honestly, was that people in Los Angeles would come up to us, and if they knew us at all, it wasn't because of La La Land, because like famous people are in that movie, and so we're just walking around, trying to talk to famous people, and if they let us, it's very nice. But they would come up to us, and a lot of people have seen Dear Evan Hansen from LA, and that was the coolest thing. They would come up to us and they'd be like, La La Land, blah, 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 but we saw Evan Hansen, and we're like, oh my gosh, and that was a really, really special experience for us. We come from, we went to musical theater school at Michigan, and
Go Blue!
Go Blue, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, Chet. Yeah, we love you. But we grew up always loving musicals, and we're so excited that musical theater is becoming a thing, that not just people, between 42nd Street and 53rd, between 7th Avenue and 9th Avenue are really embracing, that culturally it's becoming something that people are getting excited about. I don't know about a lot of people out there, but we grew up with The Little Mermaid being the first movie that we ever saw, And so, yeah, clap it up for Ariel, exactly. But when that's your first exposure to musicals, or and to movies in general, I think our entire generation has been primed in such a beautiful way to accept storytelling as musical theater as just storytelling. So I think we're having this really amazing moment that's bigger than these blocks where people are getting excited about Broadway, and we're just very, very excited that people are excited about what we do and telling story through song, and that we can be a part of that.
Yeah, I think it's only a good thing that there's a big musical right now that people around the country and around the world are watching. And people sometimes ask us, like, was there a difference when you were writing for La La Land than when you were writing for Dear Evan Hansen or something like that? Like, what's the difference between writing a movie musical or writing a stage show? And exciting thing to say is that, at least for La La Land, really there wasn't a difference. It was one of the first times I can remember where a project like that, they didn't say, we want you to write a pop song that, that has some theater moments in it, or we want you to write a song that could be on the radio, that whatever. It was really like, we want to write a song for these characters in this moment that captures what they're feeling, that progresses the story forward. So it was really unapologetically a musical in every sense. And I think that's really exciting, because not only does it say, movies that have music in them should be an exciting thing, but it's really saying people are coming to see the movie and they're saying movies with songs that tell the story, that explore the character, which is what we all do and love to do. That's okay and that's exciting, and I think ultimately it makes more people come to see a Broadway show. People who never maybe wanted to see a musical, they see that movie or they see something like it, and the next time they're in New York, they'll come to see a Broadway show, and they might have never done that before.
Yeah, and we're also just so appreciative of the director, Damien Chazelle, like Michael Greif, is so rigorous about character and telling story through song, and so many of the references that he would use when we were talking about songwriting, it wasn't pop songs on the radio, but we were listening to Cole Porter songs, and we were listening to Sondheim, and like that's where we were drawing the inspiration, not just for the songs, but the musical moments. And so we were really appreciative that the world of musical theater was getting seeped into the discussion of the creative process as well.
It's fabulous, guys, fabulous. So proud of you. I'd love to open up to anyone if you have a favorite moment that you'd love to share from the show. And what I particularly mean is it may not even be a moment in the show that you're in. Like sometimes, what we don't get to see is you're waiting, in the wing space to make your next scene, and maybe you get to observe something that's going on. And sometimes I've heard that can be like, oh, I loved watching every night when this happened. So it could be something that you're a part of, one of your own moments on stage, or a particular song or lyric, but it could be something that you're just in a position to observe. Anybody want to chime in on that?
Michael Park does.
Mine's really fast. Will Rowland makes me laugh every single joke, every single night. I listen on the monitor, I watch him from off stage, and I laugh like it's the first time every single joke. Just saying.
He's fast too.
All I ever do is run.
That's my favorite.
I'll talk. Sometimes I wish I wasn't in the show so I could watch it.
Yeah.
Because after I'm done yelling at Evan, I come off stage in my blazer and I stand and watch the last dinner scene, and there was a night where Jennifer Laura Thompson's words and the way she delivered a line stopped me in my tracks. Because normally I run upstairs and like change in my orchard scene and then like sit on my iPhone and yell at people on Twitter. But one night I was like, what just happened in this scene? Jennifer Laura Thompson just stopped me in my tracks, and I stood on the stage left side of the wings and I watched that entire scene until, unfortunately I can't watch Rachel and Evan, but I stayed up until then. And it was a moment of church for me, because I rarely get to watch and experience what my incredible cast does from a different perspective, and to get to experience the kind of breakdown and build up that happens in that scene is truly moving for me. And I'm just so in awe of you guys and the work that you do, all of you. So.
There's a lot of people in New York City and around the world talking about how good Ben Platt is at this moment. But what you guys see is all what happens on stage, and what's very fun for us, this is a group that has, been doing this show for a while, at least, this year, since last year or longer than that. And Ben is like a spectacular captain for all of us. Like, you may have seen this on the internet, but like every night, like usually about 20 to 25 minutes before the show, like Ben comes up to the penthouse level where a lot of us have our dressing rooms, and like brings his speaker, and like we all like dance and sing together. And like sometimes it sounds really corny because it really is. But it's like we have like we love to gather, the 8 of us on stage in the stage left wing every night and really like look each other in the eyes before we go on stage. And it's the kind of thing that, like, when I was doing theater in high school, I was like, oh, this probably doesn't happen like on Broadway, but like it does apparently, or at least with this very special and wonderful group of people, who you're a great cheerleader for our unity, and then everyone here really bring, like we're really friends in real life, even though we're mean to each other on stage, and so kudos to you and my friends.
So we'll have you think. There are so many. There are so many. I get to be on stage for a lot of them to watch these things unfold in the dinner scenes and everything. But there are a couple that happened off when I'm off stage. One of them being, and that really are powerful to me, when Connor pushes Evan at the beginning of the show. That really just resonates with me. I don't know why. Maybe my son was picked on or something like that, or I was. I'm just having these flashbacks of high school. And then there's another one when Ben is having a moment with the tie on the floor in the auditorium when he drops his card, and that just again just rips me apart as a father and as that lost kid in high school. So there you go.
I'll just say I only get to listen to / watch one number of the show because that's the only one I'm not in, and I'm really glad about that because it's Requiem, which is the song that Laura Dreyfus sings, and it's just incredibly gorgeous. And so if there are nights when it's taking the audience a little time to warm up, or I'm feeling a little bit fatigued or things like that, after the first 35 minutes or so when I get to go off stage and hear that song, it's just an incredible sort of empowerment because it's equally beautiful every single night, and so I'm just really grateful for them.
And he watches every night. I see him watching every night.
It's lies.
That's beautiful, guys. Well, speaking of Requiem, we have just days to go before the digital version of the Dear Evan Hansen cast album is playing. I've loudly and proudly played whatever I could on SiriusXM, but I am so excited to get the full-fledged album and hear all your gorgeousness. It is going to, and of course, if you don't know, pre-order it now so that you can get the immediate gratification waving through a window track, if you don't already. I have a personal requirement of listening to it 50 times per day. Otherwise, I can't go on with my day. Has it been, there is a bit of a Hamilton effect, dare I say it, in that, this is very of the moment. It's what people are talking about. It's what people are coming to see. Anybody starstruck, not, maybe even wasn't a celebrity, but like an artist that you looked up to that came to the show and you're just like, oh my God.
Carol Burnett.
It's the Carols. Carol Burnett.
Carol King.
The Carols always kill it.
The Carols. One with an E, Carol with an E, Carol without an E.
Yeah, I actually started shaking when Carole King came because that's like probably my biggest vocal icon, musical icon in the world. And I don't normally get so starstruck, and she saw it in my eyes and she just went, "Do you want a picture?" I was like, "Yes!" That's that story.
I thought Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd were pretty cool. Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd came twice.
Christopher Lloyd came twice, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman was pretty cool for me.
I keep waiting for Keanu Reeves to come.
She talks about it literally every day.
Putting it out in the Javits Center. I want Louis C.K. to come. Somebody make that happen.
Yeah, we're putting it out there to the universe. If you said it at BroadwayCon, it has to come true. Real quick, if you have Dear Evan cosplay on, please stand up. Got the cast. Very good, guys. Wait, let's see. Somebody in the way. Someone's waving through a cast window. Way back there.
Oh, amazing.
So cool. Our own Chelsea Knockman, if you see her, she is also playing some amped up Dear Evan cosplay today.
Hey Julie, can I just give a quick shout out?
Please.
We have our producer in the first row, Stacey
Stacey
Minich, and she's very shy. She's very shy. She doesn't like the attention, but we're gonna have to annoy her for a second. I just have to say, as writers, it's very rare that anybody gives you the opportunity to come and say to you, what is the show that you want to write that nobody's giving you permission to write? So often people will come to us, and it's wonderful to say, we have a movie that we would love for you to look at, or make this into a musical. And she came to us when we were 24 years old, and we had never written a show before, and she said, what's the thing in your hearts that nobody's giving you permission to do, and I want to help you do it. And that is such brave producing, and it makes absolutely no sense on paper, and we are so appreciative, everybody up on the stage, and I think a lot of people in the audience, that you took that risk on us and that we're here today, because when you tell somebody the plot of this show, it does not necessarily mean that it's going to be a commercial Broadway hit. But she believed in us before we believed in ourselves, and pushed us to believe in ourselves, and we really, really appreciate that you took that risk, so thank you.
Oh, well, bravo. I'm so glad you said that, because it really does take an amazing amount of creative people to bring a story like this to the stage. To bring any of the shows that we love to the stage takes so much commitment, and then for it to come to fruition, and for us to get to witness the kind of commitment that you are all bringing to the stage, and the kind of commitment that each of you brought to your creative work to give them the words to say and the songs to sing. I applaud. Let's all applaud them. Applaud them. I can't believe we get to have this on Broadway. This is a miracle. Thank you all again for your dedication, for coming out to BroadwayCon, for spending your Sunday morning on a two-doche with us. We so appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. And last but not least, thank you to all of you, because you are what makes theater happen. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.